Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
From this week's Torah portion and the triennial of it, so this happened just a little bit ago. I'm having to recap it for myself since I was at Or Shabbat with the younger kids. We have this funny piece, Exodus chapter 33. Moses says to God, "See, you say to me, lead this people forward, but you've not made known to me whom you will send with me. Further, you said, I have singled you out by name, and you have indeed gained my favor. Now, if I've truly gained your favor, let me know your ways, that I may know you and continue in your favor. Consider, too, this nation is your people." And he, God, said, "I will go in the lead and will lighten your burden." And Moses said, "Unless you go in the lead, do not make us leave this place. For how shall it be known that your people have gained your favor, unless you go with us, so that we may be distinguished, your people and I, from every people on the face of the earth?" What we have is all of this dancing around God's presence. And to what extent do you get to be present with God? Do you get to see God? Is God present with you? Going to the next page, 33, verse 22. Actually, we'll just continue right there. From even just before that, God says, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name Yodevavhe, and the grace that I grant, the compassion that I show, but you cannot see my face, for humanity may not see me and live." And God said, "See, there is a place near me. Station yourself on the rock, and as my presence passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock and shield you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." Both Ibn Ezra and Rashi have this interesting moment with this where they're like, what's up with the hand? What's up with the hand, basically? I'm going to put my hand there so you don't look at my face, and then once I turn my back, then poof, I'm going to take my hand away and then you can see. Ibn Ezra and Rashi both go to the same kind of place of, well, isn't this the God that, did the 10 plagues and split the seas and all of those things? Why does God need to hold a hand? Like earmuffs, like that kind of thing. Why does God need to do that in order that Moses be present with God? Why this whole anthropomorphized thing? And in fact, Targum says within it, they don't actually translate that as, "I will shield you with my hand." They take a fanciful translation of it and say, "I will shield you with my word." Because they don't even buy this whole anthropomorphized physical hand business. Don't buy it. And so we have this problem. What is all of this physicality and these body parts, and we shield you with the hand and then poof, and then you can see the back? What is that? I want to suggest that this falling at the tail end of Purim is really instructive. What is, of course, the character that has no speaking role in Megillat Esther? God, thank you. God. We go from a couple of real extremes of experience with God. Think about that for just a moment. An entire book of the Hebrew Bible in which God has no seemingly surface presence, to immediately into a Torah portion in which we get God's back and God's hand, and you can't look at God's face. Not just God as a being, as a theological reality, but God body parts and intimacy and closeness with God. We go direct from one all the way directly over to the other. Thoughts about why that is? Why do we get that in the same place? One could be forgiven for having a hard time imagining this is the same God in Megillat Esther that we see in Ki Tisa. What is that? I see Suzanne frantically turning pages, trying to catch a piece. You may have stumped the room. Usually I ask existential questions that are a little bit more personal or a little bit easier and not necessarily as philosophical or theological in nature. But why do we get this full range of God in this way? I want to suggest that this week of all weeks, having Purim, first of all, it's not Purim anymore. So Shushan Purim. But we'll call Purim in the same way that God is the unspoken partner in the Purim story. We'll call Purim the unspoken partner in this God story here this week. That unspoken partner is teaching us a lot about our own agency and our own ability in the world. I want to suggest that what we're seeing here is its own kind of Nachshon moment. Who is Nachshon? Y'all know this. Yeah, go ahead.
Walked into the first person to walk across the front of the Red Sea.
That's right. Yeah, this old midrash about splitting the sea, that it doesn't actually happen until this guy, Nachshon, walks into it and keeps walking, and the water gets higher and higher and higher, and it's going to go over his head, and then suddenly it starts splitting. Doesn't happen as a redemptive moment or quality until you step up, you the human being, you the person. Had the Israelites waited for the hand or face or back or whatever of God to go and fix everything in Shushan with Haman, I don't know that we would have seen the same resolution to the story. Plainly. Purim is a story about a certain kind of human agency and ability, an ability to hold one's Jewishness, one's identity, and one's sense of self in the actions that one takes in this world in a concrete level. There are places in which, we need God's deliverance and God's help and God's this, that, or the other, but I love Purim as the unspoken companion to this part of the story. The reminder that if you are waiting for God's hand or face or back or any of these things, that works for Moses, and it worked in this one place of needing to convince the people to move forward in history and in time and in our own Jewish consciousness. This story, we read it over and over again, but it roots itself in a certain kind of place and moment in terms of getting us to the next step and moving us forward as an Israelite people. It's not the same as I want to suggest the timelessness of Purim that isn't in fact rooted in any particular real king or not. The whole thing is satire, and so this idea that you can read it anytime. This is a reminder about that Nachshon moment, and it's a reminder against the backdrop of conflict with other peoples. Conflict that may be existential in terms of what it means to us as the Jews. And I think the fact that we get this as a reminder here is that works for Moshe, but it's for us to figure out a way forward. It is for us to use all of our cunning and all of our agency and all of our thoughtfulness and wisdom and compassion to make the world a little bit better, to relate to other people. I mean, fundamentally, that's what Esther does. Changes the whole outcome of the story by saying, hey, I'm like these people over here. You can relate to that. This God's hand, face, back thing, this is utterly unrelatable. The closer you get to the divinity, the more reality begins to unwind. But the Esther piece of it, what's hidden, the idea that you can relate to me and I can relate to you as human beings, and that may be a way out of conflict, or at least a start. To me, that's promising. To me, that's it offers a little bit of hope, even at the moment when God's presence, whether it's the back, the face, anything else, or God's mere voice, may be concealed. That there still is holiness, and there still is the invitation to do the best we can to create peace and to create a better world through our own agency, through relating to other people, and not just waiting for the cosmic hand to come down and fix everything. Shabbat shalom. We continue with Zach, and Zach comes up to join us on 155.